Buff 'em up dates, buff 'em up dates. We have a legendary, historic day going on with the Colorado Buffaloes signing day. This is the signing day special. Buff Stampede with myself, Big Dog Chico. Got my main man, Adam Mustard Tiger. And we are joined also by William Gardner. Should I say I'm joining this tag team that you guys have been seeing on Buff Stampede. How you guys doing?
Hey, I'm good. I wasn't sure about that. I was hoping you weren't saying legendary about me. I'm like more like notorious is the word, I think.
That's right. I like that. Notorious.
It's been too long since we've done our last collaboration, Big Dog, and excited to be on with you. And yeah, it's like we got our presents early, but you darn well should enjoy those presents, right? I mean, what's under that Christmas tree from this staff? It's the best high school group that they've brought in. I feel like since they've been in Boulder for a short period of time, and so there's a lot to be excited about.
Yep. I would say, 15 out of the 16 guys that we wanted, I think we had listed on that list, we have committed. Had one guy commit to USC, but we're going to focus on the ones that we did get, which was a pretty impressive group that came through for the Buffs. If you want to go ahead and break it down, Adam, for us, name some guys that you were most impressed with out of the 15. Let's start there.
Yeah, well, I first off, with Alex Graham, I don't want to gloss over that. This was a recruit that had a wandering eye through a lot of this recruiting process. And, I actually want to correct something that I wrote on our message board earlier today, was that kind of following his recruitment, I felt like maybe Colorado should drop him because it just was, going here, going there. And it's like, if you're committed, you're committed. Uh, but in the transfer portal era, actually, the approach to handle this in a different way, different than what my knee-jerk reaction was there is, yeah, actually, do everything you can up until that moment he signs with another team. And you never know what it's going to look like at USC in a couple of years. And maybe Alex Graham comes back and it's this great story. So you just never know. That was one thing that I had to remind myself. This is a little bit of a different era, right? Of like, even if you're second, NOB goes to Michigan. Colorado almost got him. He was on the hook, but he got cold feet. In a year or two from now, you don't know what that's going to look like. And so to be in a great situation with that player, even if he's not signing with you, I think makes a whole lot of sense. But in terms of this class, you got to start. I'm not going to steal Williams' thunder, but I think the first thing is two offensive linemen that were as heavily regarded out there as any Big 12 offensive line signee. You look at the 24/7 team rankings, and Colorado is best among Big 12 programs in terms of average rating. And the one school that's above them, TCU, has got like twice as many commits. So that's just a little bit more on the quantity versus quality that TCU is doing versus the quality over quantity game plan that Colorado has. But and I like these receivers that are coming in too. I think there's going to be a couple of those guys that make a lot of plays for the Buffaloes.
Nice. What about you, OG? Notorious?
Hey, I think the point Adam was making about, it was always important in recruiting to have those relationships. But now, when a guy can change his mind and still be your guy after a year, you recruit them right down to the end. And if they don't come to your place, and you try to get them later on, because a lot of these guys are not going to be at the same school. Not the ones that we sign. I think Coach Prime has a different approach and keeps guys around because they have a relationship with him. But guy goes to Michigan, guy goes to Southern Cal, guy goes to, Michael Cooper signs with Alabama. He's going to wind up being with us. I feel it in my guts. So they can sign wherever they want today. But Coach Prime gets relationships with these young men, and like Phil Loadholt's going to have a relationship with Michael Cooper. And if things don't work out down there, then we're still on board with those guys. But you look at this class we have today. If you're a longtime CU fan, you got nothing to complain about, because this is like back in the day, back in the '90s. When everybody we brought in was going to the NFL, and that's what we're looking at today. And then I think with the high school, like Adam talks about the quantity over the quality, and I think we saw with Coach Prime this year with the portal guys, bring in fewer guys, but make sure they're your guys and they fit with the mentality that you want, that they're going to work hard and try to compete. So I think it's pretty exciting. I think we've filled a lot of needs, and I think we set ourselves up to go into the portal and fill the rest of them.
100%. With 15 signees now, with Hudson, I think being the last one to sign on, I think it goes right into what you're saying with that quality over quantity, because, and it goes with the coaching staff, with the NFL mentality and the guys that he's brought in and the way he's treating this team. He's now treating, I think, recruiting like the NFL does, as opposed to with the free agency and the draft. You don't bring in 30 guys out of the draft. You bring in, a certain amount. You have 8 picks at the most probably that you'll bring in. There's some free agent guys that you'll bring. So you're looking right around 14 guys, maybe 14 rookies. Then you'll try to fill in the rest of your roster with the portal guys, with the free agent guys. And that's where you go and you pick and choose certain guys based off of their production and their fit with your team. And I think that's what Coach Prime is going to be ahead of most coaches and programs in college football now, because if you're paying the players, they're essentially professionals now. So now you treat them like professionals because they want to go to the league or be professionals in whatever else in life. And I think he's one up on colleges around the country on the way that he's recruiting right now.
Well, it's kind of ironic that he was getting criticized for the same thing that now other coaches are trying to copy, right?
Right.
And
right.
when Coach Prime did the math at a press conference with us earlier this year, it made perfect sense. He said, okay, so you sign 25 guys out of high school, and you're not going to be able to play more than half dozen of those guys. It just isn't going to be in the cards. You're too young. You got to develop. So now in this portal era, they're going to get impatient, and you're going to lose half that class anyway.
Yep.
So just sign the guys you think have a chance to play right away, and then focus on the portal. And I know that it was even hard for me to accept kind of this new reality, because you like that 4 or 5 year development story going down the field on senior day with the head coach. But, frankly, the head coach that recruited them was usually not the one walking them down on senior day, right? So now it's kind of regressed to where players have that same movement that coaches do. And I think that, this is cutting edge stuff for Colorado to kind of be at the forefront there. And you don't want to sign more than 15 guys from the high school ranks as long as Coach Prime is the head coach in Boulder.
Right. You're going to have so many guys wanting to come out of that portal.
Yeah, we're going to have to turn guys away, I think, because they see what, I think last year guys looked at it and said, well, we don't know if Coach Prime is going to be able to do this. And now you got 9 wins, and you're going to have guys wanting to come and be part of this because they see how he has a relationship with these players. And, to Adam's point, it used to be you'd have a guy around 4 or 5 years and you watch him develop and everything else. But, this year, like Chidozie Nwankwo or Nakai Hill-Green, they only were here for 1 year, but man, they're buffs to me. I got to know those dudes, partially because of you and other people that give us behind the scenes look, but they're just as much a buff to me as somebody that was there 5 years before, because they came in and they made a difference and they worked their ass off. And so, I'm still excited about it,
Yes. And I'm sure that's great for, guys who are thinking about coming in, and for guys like Chidozie and Nakai Hill-Green, those 1 year buffs come in and hear long time, followers of the bus fans, alumni, former players say that, because that's showing that, hey man, they're embracing us and they're not looking at us just like if we come in and do the work, do the things we're supposed to do, be great citizens and all of these things, it matters.
Well, I've been around this program in one way or another since the early 80s, and it's always been a family. They got the Forever Buffs group, and once you played here and put on that uniform and got out there, you don't even have to get in the game. You come out and bust your butt in practice, you're still making the team better, and you're still a part of a family. And
oh yeah, for sure.
And I think Coach Prime realized that and saw that, and is even more of a family with him, I think.
100%. All right, so Adam and William, let's get into some of these players. You know, we have the graphics to pull up, so
Yeah.
let's pull them up and talk about some of these guys. We could start with Mr. Adrian Wilson right here, coming over 4-star out of Texas, 6 foot out of Weiss. You know, a highly recruited guy, someone that, you know, I think we're very lucky, not lucky, but happy to get, should I say, just a stud at the wide receiver position. Tell me, what can he bring to Colorado, and what do you think the outlook is for him?
William, you go first. You share any thoughts you have, and then I'll kind of fill in the gaps if that works.
Well, I think these wide receivers looked at and saw what they can do here up in Colorado. You know, where we got the ball out to 4 or 5 and 6 guys, and I think also they realized that as a freshman, you know, you look at Isaiah Harge, for example, you're going to play if you can play. And so Adrian Wilson is a guy that brings good size and great speed. And I like that we recruit in places like Texas and Georgia, where the high school football is really top notch. So that when they come in here, you know, a guy like Adrian Wilson is going to have gone against really top level defensive backs, and it's not going to be new to him to see the speed here. So, you know, he's 6 foot, he's fast, he's got great hands, and got great production. Out of Texas down there. So I think he's a guy that right off the bat comes in, and he could probably play all the wide receiver positions, frankly. So he's a guy that can take people deep, and he can play that slot and do a lot of different things for you. So he's a guy that's going to light up the scoreboard, I think.
He's a young man that sampled the buffet a little bit. He was committed to Arizona State, Oregon, TCU at different points during his recruitment. But when Colorado came on board, it seems like he was pretty much sold from that point forward. He was kind of just not feeling these schools for whatever reason, but there was no looking back when Colorado offered. And I know that high school stats are you want to take them with a grain of salt a lot of the time. But anytime I see a receiver in Texas at a high classification that has more than 20 yards per catch, that's one of those things that kind of stands out to me. And so I think he's a little bit different, as I wrote today, than Quentin Gibson and Quinell Farrakhan Jr. in the sense he's a little bit more of a kind of a prototypical receiver. You're going to see him out wide,
right,
versus those other guys that are more slot receivers.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'll be a good thing to add to this, because we have a what would be a slot receiver, I would think, in our guy coming over. I think I can find it. Let me make sure I get his graphic, because he might be one of my favorite players coming over. Only 5'8", and that's the wide receiver, my man Quinn Gibson. Tell me your thoughts on him.
Well, he's another LeJohntay Wester, if you ask me. You know, he's another guy from Texas, a smaller guy at 5'8", but it's just electric. And I think he's going to be one of those guys. I think if he was 6 feet tall, he'd be a 4 or 5 star. He'd be one of those guys that everybody knows about. But you know, some people still, even after all these years, some people still want to judge the size of the dog by the size of the dog and not the size of the heart. You know, and this kid is going to make you pay, just like LeJohntay Wester did all year for the bus.
Yeah.
Love him. And we got to bring up the fact that TCU tried really, really, really hard to poach Quentin Gibson late in the process. They actually had him on campus this past weekend. And I was actually trying to just do a early signing day preview on Quentin Gibson. I didn't know he was going out to TCU. So all of a sudden he ghosted me. I'm like, what's going on? And so going into today, guys, I didn't know what he was going to do. I had heard from some sources they felt good about it, but it was like that was one of those wins today that maybe is easy to overlook. But this is somebody that's going to come in and play really early, can be a return guy. We'll get to Farrakhan Jr., but both those guys are similar in that sense. They're both excellent return men. And Gibson is, like William said there, the LeJohntay Wester comparison is there for the size, but also the fact that every time that dude catches the ball, if a defender takes the wrong angle, it's a house call for him.
Yeah, he's an angle a killer. Definitely, he a fast twitch guy. Can really get open. A lot of production this year, double-digit touchdowns. Only 5'8", 165, as you guys said. But that's the second receiver. Let's go to the third one now, who might be the first receiver. And Quinell Farrakhan Jr., 5'11" and a half, 185 pounds out of North Shore, highly recruited. Some people have him as a 4-star, depending on where you're looking. Tell me what you think about him and what can he bring along with Wilson and Gibson.
Well, I think he brings everything, and I'm kind of sentimental that he's from North Shore because we used to get some of our best stars at CU from that high school back in the day, some big old linemen and stuff. So that's a high level of high school football that he's played against. He's a very mature young man. You know, he's almost 6 feet tall, so he's not a small guy by any means, and was recruited by everybody. And I think he's a guy that comes in again, could play both inside in the slot and outside wide. And I don't know, for some reason, makes me think of Jimmy Horn Jr. a little bit.
Nice comparison.
Yeah, the fact that he scored 4 touchdowns as a return man in one football game this season is about all you need to know. It also makes you wonder about the opposing coaching staff, right?
Say, what the hell? Why are you kicking to this dude, man?
Yes, you got to find a way to get it out of his hands, man. What are you doing?
Coaches get stubborn and like, well, we're gonna stop him. No, I don't think you are, but keep on trying.
But yeah, North Shore is playing in the playoffs this weekend. Texas 6A D1 playoffs Saturday afternoon against Atacosita, if I pronounce that right. That's going to be out there somewhere. Hopefully we can stream that and watch some of these guys, because there's a few of these guys we're going to talk about that are still alive in their playoffs.
Yes. All right, let's move to we got the pass catchers out of the way with the 3 wide receivers. Let's go inside now to the big tights, the tight ends. And we have big Corbin Lazier and also Zane DeZalza. We could talk about Lazier first. Big fella out of the state of Tennessee, 6'5", 225 pounds. I think he's a nice route runner and a nice fluent pass catcher also. Tell me what you think about him, Adam.
Corbin Lazier is a really smart young man. He played in just in general. He's a 4.0 student, and he's going to be an early enrollee at Colorado. In terms of football, he started out at a high school that played 10 personnel. So he was split out. He really kind of honed his skills as a slot tight end. Goes to Science Hill his senior season and just kind of came together with his skills and played with his hand in the ground a lot more. 11, 12 personnel, and was a guy that really kind of discovered what it's like to get your hands dirty as a tight end. And I think that's going to really suit him well coming into Colorado's program. You talk to a lot of guys, and most of them, you know, your media, so they're on their best behavior and you enjoy your conversation, but you don't quite know what to expect from them when they get on campus. But with Corbin Lazier, he is going to be yes, sir, no, sir, and just early to every meeting. He's going to study his butt off, and he's going to be a hard worker in this program. I don't know when he's going to get on the field for the Buffs, but he's somebody that has kind of those other intangibles that, again, I was really, really impressed with him in the multiple times that I've had a chance to chat with him.
And I guess when you say media on your best behavior, you don't mean me in that one, right?
Hey, we've already seen when we mentioned Dan Lanning, the professionalism gets thrown out the window. So
yeah, professionalism. Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. I think you put that in the dictionary. You see my picture, but I like these 2 tight ends because they're the more traditional size guys that you see at tight end, you know, across the country and in the NFL. And I like a lot what we did with Smalls this year. And he kind of, you know, he wasn't a big prolific pass catcher, but every single game he would seem like he would get us a first down here or there, and he became a good outlet for Shedeur that they would not cover him because they're covering all those wide receivers. And I think when you come into this program and it's so loaded with wide receivers as a tight end, the use of a tight end is to allow you to run the ball and pass the ball without giving away what you're doing. So, like, you know, we go with 10 personnel, we take the tight end out. When we put a tight end in there, it suggests to the defense what we're going to do. And with these guys, you can leave them out there. And Corbin Lazier is a guy that can, both block for you and run. And I like how we use them in the run game in that split zone concept and coming across the formation and whatever. But I liked Corbin Lazier. Didn't he say he had some comment in the last week or something about how he predicted all this was going to happen with the 9 wins and everything, Adam, way back at the start?
Well, he was just telling me, he's like, it's cool everybody else sees what I saw all these months ago when I committed, and I kind of appreciated that from him. He was like, man, I saw this coming. Yeah.
Nice, because he was one of the first ones, and
Yep.
for him to do that, and I think he was on campus also, a big body guy, looked the part. And yeah, I think we added 2 nice pieces at the tight end spot with these 2, DeZosa and Lazier. Nice names also for those guys. Zane is 6'6", 260 pounds. So it looks like a big bookend tight end when he walks off the bus. You know, something that we needed on the end to solidify that run game also.
And Adam and I went up and watched him play. Adam's wife came along to provide the brains and the beauty in the group. Aside from us. But, you know, a lot of times, you know how it is. It's like 6'6" ends up being 6'3", but you know, I'm 6'3", and this kid towered over me, and he absolutely looks that 6'6", 260, and played both sides of the ball that game. And he's a kid, I think he's a little more raw than some of the others because he plays here in Colorado, and you know, we don't have quite the level of coaching and stuff, but he's got the body and he's got the athleticism to come in here and really play a lot of different roles in this offense. So I think he's a guy that gets on campus and starts working with Coach Mo and the tight ends coach up here and starts to learn the game. And he may be a year or 2 away from playing immediately, but he's certainly got all the physical tools to make it happen.
At the tight end position. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Good. No, you go ahead.
Because I was going to ask the question. I was just going to say at the tight end position, is that a spot where we'll still try to attack the portal in and get maybe some guys who have had some, you know, established careers so far?
Yeah, I think we need to do that for sure because I don't know if Smalls is back for another year, but you know, we kind of ran out of them at the end of the year there with injuries and such, and so I think we need to get. I'd like to see us go get somebody who was a legitimate down the field pass catcher for somebody at the Power 4 level this year to you know, be along with Savell Smalls along on the first team offense for us. But yeah, I'm not sure either one of these kids is ready to go in year 1 as a true freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think about the portal too, it's like at tight end, I'm not even worried about how many passes they're going to catch. I'm worried about what they're going to do in the run game to provide any support for Juju Lewis if he is our starting quarterback next year. You know, that's where I'd be focused. But with Zane DeSouza, it's a cool story in the sense that he is really the first in-state scholarship signing for Colorado of the Coach Prime era. Now, Hank Zielinski signed back during Coach Prime's first class, but he was already on board when Coach Prime got to Boulder. And I love this strategy. I don't care who it pisses off. The state of Colorado just does not consistently produce guys that are going to win a Big 12 championship. Now, you can find a few guys here and there, and it's great when Charlie Offerdahl gets elevated to be on scholarship, and you've got, you know, stories of guys that walked on, like Ben Finiseth, that have a great story at CU, but you don't really need to be focusing on your backyard. And so I actually applaud Coach Prime and his staff for this strategy. But with DeSouza, he's a big body. Coach Prime just singled him out at one of their elite camps in Boulder last June and saw something in him. And so I'm not going to be the one to doubt him. I think it's going to take a little time for DeSouza to kind of develop and get used to the physicality that you're not going to face at Loveland High School. But he's another guy that it's really nice to chat with him. You can tell that it means a lot to him. And he flat out admits that he had to reevaluate everything when he went to that CU camp and CU offered, because he was thinking, yeah, maybe I'm a UNC guy, maybe I'm this. Now all of a sudden, okay, I've got to work a little bit harder, and that's going to be a process for him. But yeah, when we went out to that game in pregame warmups, you knew where Zane DeSouza was. You didn't need his number to know where he was on the field.
That's a big boy. My coach used to say to the big fellas, "Hey man, you guys get off the bus first and look mean."
You know, I coached offensive and defensive line throughout my career, and you know, I had a lot of the Power 4 level guys, and you know, I'm 6'3", 250, and I got photos of me with my guys, and I look like a midget, because they're
Yeah.
6'7", 310, whatever. And the one thing that you never really know when you're recruiting linemen in particular and tight ends, I think is along the same ways is, most places they're not going to face the kind of defensive players that you're going to see at our level.
Nah.
And in Colorado, there's none of them. There's never any defensive linemen or big linebackers that can run here in Colorado. So, how are they going to react when they get hit in the mouth by an Nakai Hill Green? You don't know the answer to that.
Right. That's true. That's true. I remember though being at in Indianapolis at the combine. And I looked up right here. It was a guy 6'8". It was a guy 6'7". I said, damn. And maybe I should go over there with the linebackers. Like, oh, those are my size. I didn't came over here with two giants. Goodness gracious. But yeah, they will.
Way back in prehistory and almost, but not quite the leather helmet days, when we rode our dinosaurs to practice, I was up in Northern Colorado and played there my first year and thought I was all cool. And it was Bill McCartney's first year and he didn't do very well. So I thought, well, I can go down there. They suck. I can play there. And I go down there and man, Sandy Armstrong was an outside linebacker and just bloodied my nose. And it's not even a pads on practice. And Victor Scott gets drafted by the Cowboys, and it was a fast awakening to like, well, I'm glad I'm here, but I'm not ever going to play at this level.
Yeah. You realize it real quickly when damn, it might be over for your boy. I'm done.
Right. Yeah, you look at some of these guys, and you're like, "What the hell? Where do they keep these dudes?"
Right. You're like, I would pick him over me. Just off.
Yeah.
I see why they pick me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they started bringing in the real guys like Alfred Williams, and I'm like, I'm not even going to get on the field with that guy.
Big time ballers. All right, we got a big fella right here that he would definitely be getting off the bus first as we move inside to the lineman. At the tackle position, he could play both of them, left or right tackle. 6'8", 350 pounds, out of West Bloomfield, Michigan. Was recruited by, I'm sure, everyone in their grandmother.
Yeah.
Jay Gardenhire. He's going to bring some nastiness and some toughness on the end of that offensive line. What do you think, Coach William?
Well, Michigan's another one of those states where they got really good football and good coaching, and so he's played against some big boys. And I like that. One of the things I like about our offensive line coach is that he really is 6'8", and played in the NFL. So when he stands next to a dude, whether the dude is actually that big. And this guy's standing next to him, and they're roughly the same size in terms of height. So he's at least as big as what they say. But I think he's another one that's going to need a little bit of time with Coach Mo and the coaching staff to get him ready to go. He's a little bit more raw than the other two guys we're going to talk about. But you don't mind taking a flyer on a kid this big who can move and shows the nastiness that he shows, because he's pretty violent in his films. He just got to learn to use his feet and hands right, because I used to tell my guys, when I'm coaching a guy, I had several guys that were recruited all over the country, and they were the best athlete on our team. And I said, you know what, you go up to the next level, you will never be the best athlete again, because you'll be an offensive lineman, and the dude across from you is going to be bigger and faster than you. So technique is everything. You got to learn that technique. And I think Jay Gardenhire is gonna need a little time with Phil Lodeholt and Gunnar White to get that down. But I think in the end, he's going to be a guy. If nothing else, a 6'8", 350, you stand him out there, it's going to take 3 minutes to run around him.
And he's young to the game of football. This is somebody that actually went to a prep school in New Jersey to play basketball. And it didn't take long for the football coaches there to recruit him over to their side of things. He played defensive end his first year in varsity football, first year playing football in general, his sophomore year. So he is green, and it's going to take some development. But to William's point, to echo what he said, you're going to take a chance on a 6'8", 350-pound guy that is pretty raw. And Phil Lodeholt is I don't know what his measurables are these days, but Jaden Gardenhire is one of the guys that can actually, I wouldn't say he would make him look small, but he could be comparable to Phil Lodeholt. And so he knows how to coach somebody his size, you would think.
I'm definitely think so, because he was a veteran on the outside for the Vikings for years. And if he could find somebody in his mold, look like he's wearing his same number too, that 71, Find somebody in his mold that he can kind of mentor and mold into the type of tackle that he was. Then I'm all for it. I think it'll be a successful move for big going higher.
And one of the things that people don't realize is that at the biggest, height is great, but if you're tall and you got short arms, it don't work. So
Yep.
you got to have those long arms to keep a guy off of you. And I used to teach, the offensive lines like, you keep that guy off of you, and you're going to win. You let him get inside, you're going to get beat. And so that's one of the things that Phil Loadholt can teach a kid like this is, and you got to figure a guy that played like almost 10 years in the NFL has credibility with a kid. He's like, I'm your height. I played your position. I'm gonna show you how to do this.
Yep. And I changed my family's life doing it. So you want to come? I know how to get there.
Yeah.
Here's a guy. If we move inside, he kind of looks like Kareem Harden right there in these pictures. But Chauncey Gooden, 6'4", 320, out of the state of Tennessee, Lipscomb Academy, class of 2025. This guy here is a road grader, big time offensive lineman in the run game. Not high on his pass blocking as I should be. I think he can improve there with some nice footwork and technique there. But overall, I think he has the mindset, the ability, and the skills to be a starting offensive guard in the Division I level.
Well, I think he's the best player on this list, and I think I would be very surprised if he's not in the mix in year one. And the other thing I like about him, one of the hardest things is to find is a center, believe it or not. But because a lot of guys cannot snap the ball and step at the same time, they got to step or they got to snap it and then move, right? And then you're half a second behind, you're going to get beat. This kid played some center, and his film at center was just as good as what he had at guard. And he's as physical as they come. I mean, he reminds me a lot of back in the day. Andre Giroud was a unanimous All-American.
Andre Giroud, I loved him.
Played 10 years for the Cowboys and was just as dominant up at that level as he was at this level. Andre had the best play I've ever seen in my life in Colorado. We were playing against Nebraska. He pulled on an outside run and he got his hands into the outside linebacker, and it was at the north end of Folsom Field. He drove him all the way through the end zone, through that little area, and pinned him against the wall.
Damn.
And I thought, man, I remember watching that going, dude, if I was that linebacker, I'm going to sneak out over here and just go up in the court. The dude pinned me against the wall, man.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Go change your number or something, dog. Damn.
And that's just how he played the game. And I watched Chauncey Gooden's film. I did a little film analysis on him that I posted up, and his film is fantastic. I mean, I think he's somewhat raw in the pass protection, but they don't throw the ball that much, where he's playing. But he's actually got pretty good feet and hands, good pad level. And I'll tell you what, one of the hardest things to teach in pass protection is, it's sort of passive, you're backing up, but it's got to be violent. So that first punch, you got to time it, and you got to knock dudes out. And I saw several times on his film where he threw his first punch, and the dude went like a tumbleweed.
Yes, strong hands.
Yeah,
definitely that punch. That punch is real.
Heavy hands. We used to call heavy hands.
Heavy hands.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love everything about this kid. He is. I think he's a level above any of the guards we had on the team this year in terms of his talent and size level, and I think he's going to be very special right off the bat.
Yeah.
I was joking with William on our signing day preview show that I was starting to get carpal tunnel because I'm having to list out the offers that all these guys had outside of Colorado. And Chauncey Gooden was one of those where it was like, how many offers did this I think it was like 40 when I got done there. And he committed really early, at an early point of the recruiting process. I was told that he's a Clemson lock. Don't even worry about reaching out to Chauncey Gooden to do an interview because he's not going to Colorado. And he came out to Boulder and just fell in love. And it was like the second he committed, he turned into one of their best recruiters. I was writing about that today. And so just the passion that he has for Colorado goes a long way in terms of kind of, I think with Jordan Seaton, it's going to be a little bit of a changing of the guard on that offensive line. You'll have some other guys that are returning as well, but those are going to be kind of the pieces for the future, I feel like. And the fact that both of them just have great personalities, I think helps.
And that you know, that's another thing. It's like, you know, he's a guy in the huddle to be a leader and bring more out of the guys around him, you know, because you like playing with guys you like, you know, and he's
Mm-hmm.
those guys that you like to be with, and he's going to be a hoot, I think, in the footage in the weight room with Coach Mo, both in terms of the kind of weight he's going to throw around, but just his personality and such is going to be a lot to have around.
Yeah, and me saying that I wasn't as high on his pass is just giving praise. I think more to his run game ability. I think he's just a natural, you know, athletic, strong run blocker. And as he gets,
his run game film, I said this to Adam, is the best I've seen in 10 years. I mean, it was just phenomenal.
Yeah. So, you know, once he continues to practice and get teaching in the pass game, I think he's going to be just as good. And I think he is a projected starter and could be an all-conference type guy. You know, if he comes in and does exactly what he's supposed to do, can play the center and the guard position. Where do you think he'll project that mostly and probably play the rest of his career at?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, it feels to me like our center position is a little bit of a question mark right now, but I think, you know, Andre Giroux at CU played both center and guard, and ultimately, I think most of his career in the NFL was at guard. But I think Gooden could be equally good at either one, and just kind of whatever your team needs. I think he's got all-American potential now. You know, somebody on our board said, well, he's not Seaton. I was like, well, who the hell is? Damn, man.
Come on, man.
Jordan Seaton's the first pick in the draft kind of a guy, you know? And
I just think that shows that's a good thing, that if everybody's trying to measure us off of Jordan Seaton's caliber, you know, okay, well, great. Then all right, keep on doing that. We'll try to measure up to it, you know.
Right. And I think, you know, I think we got a little spoiled, you know. Adam, before the season, I was a little bit reluctant to plug him right into that starting spot because you don't know what a freshman, you know. I mean, as good as they may be, they come in, maybe they can't handle the different speed in the game or whatever. And Jordan Seaton was right in there, and by the end of the season, he's one of the best, not only one of the best freshman left tackles in the country, one of the best left tackles in the country.
Yeah, and you know, as a former offensive line coach, that you don't see a lot of true freshmen coming in and playing major college football on the offensive line to be strong enough and smart enough and to last the whole season. Come on,
and lacking that technique, or you know, you got to learn that technique. But the other thing about left tackle is it's kind of like cornerback, man. You know, you play cornerback, you're going to get beat. Okay.
Yeah.
And you got to man up and not pout about it. Get your butt back in the damn game. And if you get beat at left tackle, you line back up and you just keep on playing. Learn a lesson from it, move on. So, you know, I was very encouraged by Jordan Seaton, that Phil Oathold had him ready to go, and he got better week by week. You know, until by mid-season, it just sort of clicked on. You know, and if he's not one of the best left tackles in college football next season, you know, I don't know who would be.
Yeah. I'll say this real quick. I heard someone say that Oklahoma had 34 plus sacks this season, and that was the most that they've had in a long time. Guess who's missing?
Yeah. Hey, you get me rolling on offensive line, man. We'll be here all night.
Hey, I'm all with you. I played tight end, you know, here and there while I was tight end, slot receiver, and H-back. So a lot of my meetings were with the offensive line group. So I learned quickly that offensive line coaches don't play, because I was in the back smiling for some reason, and the coach said, "Hey, you freshman back there, I'll send your ass back to Selma. You keep on smiling. All I see is your 32 teeth. Shut the hell up." I went.
One of my kids that I coached out in North Carolina had offers from the entire ACC and ended up going to play at Princeton. But he came out and spent a summer with me the next year in Colorado. And one of the coaches here in Colorado said I was too hard on the kids. And I said, "Hey, Mike, is that true?" He said, "Coach, if you didn't come out cussing at us at practice, we thought maybe you didn't like us anymore."
Right. That's an offensive line coach. Get used to it.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a guy who's probably used to it right here, out of Mobile, Alabama, my home state. And I know they're playing some real live football down in Mobile at Williamson High School. And 6'5", he said, call him Smitty. Carde Smith, 293 pounds, one of the highest rated offensive linemen in his class. Day one starter. What is he going to bring to this offensive line?
Well, he's another one that's well, he's actually, I changed that up a little bit. He is way ahead of the game in terms of his technique in my view. I think he's a very polished player, and he's gotten some good coaching. And I think he looks to me like he's actually taller than that 6'5" listing. So he's a guy, we don't know who our right tackle for next year is right now, with Philip Houston's knee and what have you. But I think Carde Smith is a guy you could plug in there and take a good long look. And if he can handle the speed of this game, he's a guy that's going to play early and play well. I think he's significantly underrated. And I think if he's a guy that if he played, maybe in a Georgia or LA or something like that, would be a high 4-star kind of a guy. I think that's kind of silly because down in Alabama, they got some big damn dudes that you got to play against, as you know well. So I think Carde Smith is a huge win for us. And I think he's a guy that steps right into that right tackle competition. I'm not going to say he guarantees as a starter, but he gets into that competition at right tackle and makes everybody better because, the better the competition is, the better you got to play.
Exactly.
He committed on the show with Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco, and Chad Ochocinco gave him the nickname Boss Man Smitty. So when I see Carde Smith in Boulder for the first time, I'm gonna say, "Nice to meet you, Boss Man Smitty." That's a pretty cool nickname to come into Colorado with. We'll get into this a little bit later, but Colorado flipped a guy from Ohio State. They flipped a player from USC in Carde Smith. And I just, for folks that have, been around, see it for a long time, that have seen us talk about 3-star guys being the headliner in the class, to let that sink in a little bit. This is a big recruiting win for Colorado. And when I've talked to our national recruiting guys that have seen Carde Smith in person, and they say, this kid's going to be 320 without carrying bad weight before too long.
Yeah.
He's got a frame that's really going to be able to put on good weight. So I can't wait to see what he looks like after a year in that weight room. Yeah.
Yeah. And we, that I don't know. I feel like I need to say this, is that we don't give enough love to Coach Mo and his staff, because the job they do in there is as good as any I've seen in the country. Those men know what the hell they're doing, and they get these guys production, Going back to Carde, though, Adam asked me, what do you like best about him? I said, he gave the finger to Southern Cal, and that's good for me. I like that one.
And Coach Mo, to go back on that, Coach Mo came over originally. He came from Jackson State, but before that, he came from the University of Georgia. And when I was getting recruited back in the day, that was the best football facility that I had seen. And this was ages ago, many moons, but they had the best football facility, the best weight program, the best cafeteria for the football. Everything was about those games and conditioning and weight program and everything. So him coming from that, and a couple of his guys on the staff coming from that, I think they have the right foundation to build something from at Colorado with Coach Prime.
And I also like his. I just like watching him, man. He's just calm and cool. The passion is there, but he's like, people think a coach got to cuss all the time. No, that's just me. But he's one of those guys. He will get the most out of you because he cares, but he is, there's an intensity there that doesn't require yelling. He's the kind of coach that makes me feel like I got to say, yes, sir. I might get whacked in the head or something.
Nice. Shout out to Coach Mo, man. All right, Adam, where we going? Adam, we're going to the defensive line now. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go to the defensive line. Keep it on the in the trenches. Alexander McPherson, a guy who was committed to Oklahoma State, IMG Academy product. That pipeline continues to Colorado. 6'5.5", 240 pounds. Can play inside, can play outside. Good pass rusher. Got nice hands, nice feet. Relentless. What do you think he's going to bring to Colorado? And give me a breakdown on him.
I think he's one of the most underrated guys in the class. When you play at a place like IMG Academy, first of all, you're playing against top competition all the time. Plus, you got to beat out top competition just to get on the field. So when you're the leading sacker on a team like that, you can play. And him at basically 6'6", 240, he's another guy that he's going to easily put 40 more pounds on that frame with Coach Mo and carry 280 very simply. And he's got long arms. I mean, I look at him now, he looks like he's 25 already. But I said to Adam yesterday, and you probably get this one, I love his hair.
Yeah.
But he just looks to me like a guy. He can play the 5 technique for you. He could get down and play the 3 technique at that size if you want, or line up with the wide 7 or 9, and just create problems for tackles and tight ends. You try to block this guy with a tight end, you're going to get beat. So I think he gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of what he can do on your defense, and I'm very excited about him. And I like to, it's always nice to take a guy away from a conference rival because it's kind of a double win.
Definitely.
You could just say that he led IMG Academy in tackles and sacks this past season and just end the discussion right there, right? I mean, I talked earlier about how high school stats are something you take with a grain of salt, not at IMG Academy. When you stand out with that group, you talked about his versatility, big dog, and I think that he's somebody that's going to be able to play multiple techniques, kind of a thicker BJ Green in that sense. Well, maybe even more of an inside guy than BJ Green. Yeah. So he's a guy that you're going to be able to use in different techniques, like I said. So he was committed to Oklahoma State for a very long time. And it's a credit to the staff of taking flip season seriously, because it's more than half of these guys, or at least half of them, that were committed to another school when the season kicked off. And now they're Buffs.
All right, here we go, Chris. Christian Hudson, defensive end, defensive lineman, Florida Mainland High School, 6'1", 280 pounds, edge rusher. I think he's a guy that could be developed into a lot more than what we might see on paper, seeing that 6'1", 280. Actually, this Hudson played inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hudson played inside. I'm sorry about that. He played inside. Tell me what y'all give us a breakdown on Hudson. Then y'all probably saw way more film than I've seen on Hudson. But for what I did see, I know a dog when I see one, and he's going after the ball and running to the ball and playing hard each and every down.
Well, I got to start as an old-time Buff, but anybody named Chris Hudson is going to be all right for us, since the last Chris Hudson we had won the Thorpe Award, played
right.
NFL, right? So you can't go wrong there. But I think Chris Hudson, to me, and maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but he reminds me of Chidozie Nwankwo, a little bit shorter in stature, but he got those heavy hands, and I think he's also got a frame that's easily going to put on those extra 25 pounds and get over 300. And so at 6'1", I love the shorter end of guys for the interior defensive linemen, because they get underneath those offensive linemen.
Me too.
It's hard to block those dudes, right? Because they're coming up from underneath. And you watch Wankwo this year, and there ain't an offensive lineman all season long to move him as much as an inch, and I think Hudson is one of those kind of guys, but he's also got some of that fast twitch in him, and he's quick. So I used to coach a nose tackle one time that was smaller than everybody else, and he used to piss off all the other dudes because he was so quick they couldn't touch him.
Yep.
And this kid, I think, is going to be like that too. That he's between the blockers. I think, he may be more of an Amari McNeil now that I think about it, since as I think about him, and he's become more unblockable. But this kid, I think, gives you that sort of anywhere from a 5 technique, to down to the 1 technique in the middle, and can do a lot of things for you. And I think you could probably line him up on the outside and rush him on a passing situation if you wanted to.
So when Colorado traveled to play UCF this season, do y'all remember where Christian Hudson was committed at that point?
To them, yeah, right. Isn't he one of those?
Yeah, he was in the stands.
Yeah.
UCF's big recruiting weekend kind of backfired on them a little bit.
Well, all those teams kept doing that so a year, like, we're going to bring in all our recruits for Colorado. It's like, well, that's awful nice of you, because we'll take them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, Coach Fry even made a comment. He's like, yeah, some of those guys are there for us. And even Christian Hudson probably wouldn't have been part of that group because he was committed to UCF at that point. But just kind of a funny story there. And, shout out to Coach Rizpress, Coach Riz, that had a good relationship with Christian Hudson here. That I think was a big part of him flipping as well. Corey Phillips and Darius Dardenbach's that recruiting staff does more from a relationship building standpoint than a lot of
Yes.
recruiting staffs do. You have a lot of recruiting staffs that are just kind of there. All right, here's the plane ticket here. I'm going to fill out the depth chart and the recruiting board here, and we're going to queue up film over here. But this recruiting staff, they are all hands on deck. They are at practice every day. They are part of this program. And you kind of feel that all hands on deck mentality. And I'll be honest, guys, like I've had a lot of coaches in the past that have reached out and go, make sure I'm the primary guy listed on the profile for this recruit. That doesn't happen with this staff. And I try to get in there and do that, but generally it's not a primary tab to put on one guy. It's really a group effort.
Right.
And that's something I think that's worth noting here is that they have a little bit of a different mentality in that sense. And that recruiting staff works their tail off. And so I think Coach Riz deserves a shout out there with Hudson.
And I just saw somebody post up a comment saying that Warren Sapp's really going to help this kid, and I think that's a really good point because this kid is built a little bit like Warren Sapp, not the 6'4" prototype kind of a guy, and so Warren Sapp can teach a guy like this, how to use that lesser height, I guess, for to his advantage with leverage and such, and you got to figure Damian Lewis and Warren Sapp and Vincent Dancy, man, they did a hell of a job with that defensive front this year, and that has got to be a big selling point to defensive linemen and edge players for this team.
Yes, indeed. Any player, especially coming up now, I would think they would want to play for guys who can still bounce around out there and do it. Nothing against other guys or older coaches or anything of that nature, but those guys who are still bouncing around and doing it and can show you and can encourage you and not just yell at you and make you try do it. Well, we're going to encourage you. We're going to love on you at the same time. It's a difference in the way of doing things, I think. And I think it was just a few coaches here and there on different staffs around the country that was doing that. And Coach Prime has compiled a pretty much cultivated a culture there of that type of coaching.
Where people care about you, and also they've got that NFL background. You take them seriously,
yes.
Because how you not going to take Damian Lewis serious after 10 years in the NFL, right? And Warren Sapp, I mean, don't even now I got to laugh a little bit because you said Warren Sapp can still bounce around, and that made me think of when BJ Green knocked him on his backside earlier this season. He bounced a little bit.
I bet you he'll tell you the hardest part was just recovering from that. I didn't say he can still bounce around, but just don't hit me. Don't hit me, man. Don't be hitting me now.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Probably you talked about those two guys that we just mentioned now. Great guys on that defensive line. And here is one that might be the most Buff fans might be most excited about. That's London Merritt.
Yeah.
Committed to was he Ohio State commit?
Yeah.
And he just looks the part. You see him out there on the football field. He's a Division I football player. Towers over some guys that he's played against. Just looks like it. Got the mold already. 6'3", 250 pounds. Out of IMG Academy, of course. Played on the other side of McPherson. They caused havoc. But this guy here might have all of the measurables when you look at him. Or should I say the physique and the look when you look at this guy. Talk about him and what he brings to the Buffs defensive line, London Merritt.
Well, he's another BJ Green and a Dayon Hayes kind of a guy, with that sort of similar body type and size and just a dominant player at the high school level. And again, as Adam mentioned, that the IMG Academy, they don't just play in Florida; they go around the country and play top teams in different states. So they're matching up against really top offensive linemen all the time. And this is a kid that just made them all look silly. And you gotta say it's a hell of a thing for Coach Prime and our recruiting staff to steal a kid away from Ohio State. And that just tells you what level of talent that he is. And we were talking earlier about the wide receiver kid that TCU tried to come in at the last minute and made me think at the moment that a lot of these teams are going to start having to get used to finishing second to Coach Prime and his coaches because this is just the start right here. We're going to take, I feel like after this 9-win season and Coach Prime has proven what he can do, that it's going to be the situation where Coach Prime in Colorado, we take what we want and you can have the rest.
There you go.
I just love
that many
watching.
time on Buff 'em Ups.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah. I just love watching his film. There's just a physicalness to it. And he ran track, so he's got that element of it as well. You talk about heavy hands.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times you talk about offensive lineman with that, but he's got that as a defensive edge guy. It was a huge win for them. And Coach Prime, when I saw that he was braiding his younger sister's hair on his visit out to Boulder, I was like, okay, you might as well put him on the commit list because Coach Prime is putting that extra touch on this. Not that he singles out guys, but he like he says, Coach Prime doesn't have a sales pitch. Right. It's just a genuine quality, and I think London Merritt fell in love with that. I had a chance to interview him for, I don't know, I think it was about 15 minutes last night, and I'm looking forward to doing that feature on Buff Stampede later this week because he's a pretty special young man.
But, I got to jump in on that and say, a lot of coaches, if they'd have done that, it'd have been contrived and they're just trying to get closer to recruit. But that's just who Coach is, man.
Right.
He and I have to be honest, before he came here, I didn't really follow Deion Sanders all that much since he got out of playing, but I didn't realize what kind of a man he is. And he just spreads joy and love everywhere he goes, and it's not an act. He's not trying to impress anybody. That's just what comes out of his heart. And so he's over there braiding that young girl's hair. He's just being a dad to a young girl. He's not trying to impress her brother. And I just love that about the guy, and I think that's why, again, we're going to take who we want because kids see that, and I had a coach one time, he said, when I got into coaching, he said, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care,
Right. So factual right there. They don't care until they know that you care, London Merritt, defensive end, IMG Academy out of Atlanta, Georgia. And if he's out of Atlanta, that means his family's from Atlanta, and they know something about Deion Sanders because that was his city. Yes, indeed. All right. We're going to move along here and go to the linebacker position where we have a guy who's been committed for a long time now. That's Mantrez Walker. He's playing against Julian Lewis's school, I think, this week in the championship. But this guy here is a middle linebacker leader, thumper, sure tackler, sideline to sideline, and just one of those serious type players out of Buford High School in Georgia. Same high school that Alejandro Mata came from. Shout out to him. Played against Michael Welch, also 6'1", 225 pounds. What do you like about Mantrez Walker in the middle?
Well, I mean, I got his film up right here. You saw me laughing, and it's because he keeps hitting dudes, and they keep flipping head over heels, And he's not, he at 6'1", 225, he's got good size, but he's not that old school middle linebacker type. This kid can run, and you see him drop into pass coverage. They got him. I'm looking at right now. He's as an outside linebacker. He knows his defense and runs all over the field and just wreaks havoc. I mean, he is another Nakai Hill Green, very similar to me. Actually, you know what? He might be a little more similar to our other inside backer this year.
To Bentley's size. Yeah,
right. And I think Bentley didn't get enough credit because he was sort of in the shadow of Nakai Hill Green, who really I thought was playing at an All-American level. But, when he comes up and puts a helmet in your chest, you're going to feel it. And this kid is the same.
Yes, indeed.
And the other thing about Mantrez Walker is that he understands the game and he's been well coached. So what that means from a linebacker perspective is when he's standing there, he sees things happen and he can react more quickly. So he reads the game very well and he gets to where the ball is going. And when, as they used to say, he gets there fast and he gets there in a bad mood.
He's developed a really special relationship with Andre Hart. This was an early target for this new staff when they got to Boulder. He's been recruited to the bus for a long time now. And Andre Hart was talking about Mantrez was telling me that Andre Hart was talking to him about the fact that he loves his ability as kind of a communicator on defense. And that's why he'll most likely end up playing Mike linebacker for the Buffaloes, because he just engineers things well around him. Last year, Buford gave up less than 10 points per game as a defense. This year, they're right at 10 points per game given up as a defense. So it's been elite defense that he's been a part of there at Buford. And they're actually playing Carrollton, Juju Lewis, this weekend in the Georgia playoffs. So, yeah, that's going to be a tough one, I think, for Buffs fans to watch. I know Juju kind of hurt his hand in the last game, but it sounds like he might potentially be back this week. I don't think we've gotten final word on that yet, though.
Tell him to sit out. It's okay. Just sit out. Right. He'll be fine.
Don't man, or tell Walker, hey, easy now, man.
Like easy out there.
Pull it up a little bit.
Most definitely. Antonio Branch, as we move to the safety spot, 6'2", 172, Northwestern High School out of Florida. This kid here, it says 3-star, but I think could easily be that 4-star guy. Let's talk about this kid right here, Antonio Branch Jr., a.k.a. TJ.
Yeah, I mean, he's another kid at 6'2" that's got that great height for a safety and really got the athleticism to play all over the field. And I don't know, I think I think you're right that he's a kid that some of the ratings people missed on this guy. Playing down there in Miami, maybe he just got missed with all those other athletes. I don't know, but one thing for certain is that Coach Prime ain't going to bring in anybody in the secondary that can't play. And this kid here is one of those, and I just love his length. Got the long arms, and we're after, everybody in the country was after him as well. And I think he's a real coup. And he's a kind of, he's one of those kids that people don't know a lot about, and so they're probably not going to be the first name off people's lips. But 4 years from now, they're going to know him from what he does in the field.
I'm going to make a prediction. Antonio Branch Jr., before he becomes a regular playmaker on defense, is going to be a special teams stud. This is kind of the makeup of a guy you want on those coverage units. He has kind of played all over the defense there at Miami Northwestern, and they'll put him in the box. I mean, he's slight framed to be doing that, even at the high school level. And so he'll be a guy that maybe defensively at safety needs a little time in the weight room. But I know that Coach Prime is adamant he wouldn't even answer my question about the coverage teams after last week's game, but I think even he would admit that he'll be a good guy to have there, at least on punt coverage. If you're getting the touchbacks on the kickoffs, at least Antonio Branch will make his name known there on the punt coverage teams.
Yes. We have some safeties leaving with Shiloh and Herman Smith, I think, is going to be leaving. Cameron Silman, Craig. We also have returners that got some good playing time. I'll shout out to Travis J. too, who's leaving. But then you have Carter Stoppmeyer coming back, Savion Riley coming back. I might be missing a few guys, but shout out to everybody who's going to be there at the safety spot. But should we go, and will we be seeing guys from the transfer portal at that safety spot coming Monday, really?
Yeah, it's going to move fast. So the portal is going to open, and you've basically got 2 weeks to figure a lot of that out before you hit a recruiting dead period that's going to go through Christmas and through New Year's. So you want to kind of know what your roster is going to look like going into that spring semester. So it's going to move so fast and furious. The one thing that I think we could say is that the depth showed itself on this football team this year. If you can somehow, some way get to that place again next year, that's what's going to make Colorado a championship contender. And it doesn't, even if you love a Savion Riley, it doesn't mean that you don't bring in guys to compete with the Savion Riley, because that's just not the mentality. And that's the mentality of this new staff that has made a huge difference. And if it scares some guys off because they're scared of competition, then you know what, that's part of the deal. And then you've got a spring transfer window to kind of do it again. We've seen guys come in for spring ball. They're not up to snuff. They're out the door. You replace them again. And so it's the new age of college football. And I love the way that they're approaching that.
I mean, I don't think it's new, Adam. I think, from way back in 1812, when I first played football, It was the job of the coaching staff to recruit better players than what you already got, and I don't care if you're Jordan Seaton, let's bring in somebody to compete with Jordan and make him better,
Mm-hmm.
So I think, again, there's no position that I'm ever going to worry about less under Coach Prime than defensive back, because he's going to have the dudes there, but we're losing some guys, so we need to bring some in.
Yeah,
most definitely. Well, I would probably say the main man that we're losing, main guy that we're losing, as any team, when they lose their starting quarterback, that's kind of like the main guy. We got a unicorn in Travis Hunter, though. But Shedeur Sanders, I think we did. And his name might be, Juju Lewis out of Carrollton, Georgia, 6'1.5". He's listed as. I think he's a little bit taller than that, 185 pounds. Reclassified in this year's class. Very young guy, finished high school in 2.5 years. Been a phenom since he was about 14 years old. What is he going to be bringing to the Buffs, and as he take over from Shedeur Sanders?
Well, I think he brings a lot of the same things that Shedeur brings. He sees the field well and has a good feel for the pocket, and he gets the ball around to his different receivers and finds the open guy, has good accuracy. He's got a really good he got quick release. So I think I think Shedeur has a quicker release than people think, but I think Shedeur this year waited to try to make a big play every single time. But I think that Juju Lewis is a guy, they describe him as a point guard at quarterback, which is really what you want with the kind of weapons we got on our team. You want to get the ball to I love that picture right there that you got up with him and Slash, him and Cordell Stewart. Just kind of makes my old CU Buff heart happy. But I think that Juju Lewis is a guy that right off the bat comes in and elevates on offense and gets the ball out to the playmakers and has a leadership ability. That one of the things that I think people don't think enough about with Shedeur is that, man, he, no matter what happened, he's calm, going to get things lined up, going to get things going. And you look to that guy, as your leader,
Mm-hmm.
As a guy that's going to lead you. And I think this is a kid that can do really exciting things on offense. And it may take him a little while to get used to the speed of the game or what have you, but he's got all the skills and the ability to really make something happen.
I got asked a lot about Julian Lewis's recruitment, obviously. There was a point after William and I went to the sink with Dane Barron, who helps moderate our message board, and we got the Precision Pass Burger. I was like, do you really think I'd eat 3,000 calories in one meal if I didn't think the guy was going to be a buff? That was a huge, massive burger, but it was delicious.
Can't ask me that same question, Adam. You can't ask me that same question because I think I might be eating it anyway.
Well, that's what I said. I was the only one at the table. I was the only one at the table to eat the whole damn thing. I was in,
right. and we had a side of mac and cheese with it. It was a whole thing.
I was in the Marine Corps and the Navy, and I learned you ate what they put in front of you because you didn't know when you're going to get more.
My dad was a Marine, and you sound just like him right there. I've never seen somebody clean a plate so well, right, man. Damn. Okay.
But I love our national scouting director, Andrew Ivins, puts it best. He says that Julian Lewis is a de facto point guard on the football field. Like, that's how I see him. The only negative thing that I have heard through this entire process about Julian Lewis is that he's young. And that's something he can't change. Now, he could have stayed in the class of 2026. He was the #1 overall ranked prospect in the entire class before he reclassified. So, there's a lot of Colorado fans that are frustrated by seeing the 4 stars behind his name, and I kind of get it, because how do you go from being the #1 overall ranked recruit in that class to now you're a 4-star guy, even just because your birthday doesn't line up and you've got a little more development physically to do. But being an early enrollee, I mean, that shows that he's on top of things, right? To be able to get through high school basically in 2.5 years. So he's able to prioritize. Everything I've heard about Juju too is he does enjoy, kind of putting his talents out there, but he's not a flashy kid in the sense that he's not a cocky kid. He's going to fit in really well in that locker room. And so, if you're asking me to put money on who's going to be the starting quarterback in 2025, I'm putting it on Julian Lewis.
And I got you just had up there that scene with him and Shador handing him the keys. And I remember way back when that happened and that picture of Shador handing him the keys, I was like, this is done. This is done, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's
just a great shot, man. Great shot of that.
Yeah. And if you're a kid coming out of high school and you got a guy that's going to be maybe the first pick in the draft and you get to take over for him, why would you not do that?
Yeah, that'll be hard to pass up. I don't care you saying going to USC, going with Riley. Well, things are kind of shaky over there also. And the trajectory of Colorado is going straight to the moon. And you see what Shador Sanders has done. And I can step right in and essentially kind of be his son, so to speak, and filling his son's shoes. And I come from a situation, where, speaking of Julian, where he's kind of raised by his dad. His dad is a big influence in his life, same way Shador Sanders is. So just being able to take the coaching, the love, the advice and everything, the relationship that's going to be built with him and Coach Prime, I think will be a natural, progression for Julian Lewis.
And I think if I was recruiting him, I'd have brought him in, and the first person he'd have seen was Big Jordan Seaton. Said, that's your guy right there. We got that taken care of. Got a quarterback.
And there's Draylon Miller. He's there. You're right. I'll point at some guys. You got some guys on the Colorado football team that you can point at. Some guys that didn't play on the offensive line too, that these recruits are going to be competing with. And a guy like Peyton Kirkland, Zach Owens, who's returning. And these are huge guys, came from Texas and Clemson, who can really play also. So you're going to have some competition on that offensive line, some talent to work with.
Yeah, and Carde Smith at the right tackle, and so you if you're Julian Lewis, you're not going to have to get knocked around the way Shador did that first season,
right?
So you could step into a more polished project, and so it's just really exciting, to have a person of his talent. That it used to be back in the day that you get the quarterback and everybody else follows, and so that's a big damn deal.
Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see some dominoes falling from this transfer portal. Can Juju start day one, though? Let's get our answers right quick. Adam, you start off.
Yeah, no, I understand there's going to be a learning curve, and he's young. He reclassified, like I said, but it feels like this staff has seen something in Julian Lewis to make him the priority that he was throughout this entire process, that they feel like he's kind of the future of that position now. I think you got to go into the portal and you got to fortify that offensive talent around him. And there's a lot of good guys coming in this class, but give me a headlining running back to compete with Isaiah Gustin and Michael Welsh. Give me another run blocking tight end, a top level guard through the portal, a top level tackle through the portal, maybe even a couple receivers, because you're losing a lot there. Even though you have a lot of talent in the program, you're bringing in more guys there. And so to me, it's more about providing the pieces around Julian Lewis to let him grow, to minimize those growing pains, because they're going to be there. They're just unavoidable with a true freshman quarterback. But all the tea leaves have told me, Chico and Bill, and William, that this is kind of the plan, that Julian Lewis is going to be that guy. And hopefully Ryan Staub's back in the spring so we can see a competition there. But I would actually be kind of surprised if he's not their starting quarterback when they kick off the season next year.
And I would say, you said, can he? And I would say, absolutely he can. Will he? I don't know, because again, you take a true freshman, and it's one thing to get pass rushed in high school, even at a high level. It's a different ball game when you got Sammy Okunlola coming into your face, man, or you got Amari McNeil coming up the middle, smashing you in the mouth, and and how fast, and then the other thing is, like in high school, you might make a throw downfield, right? Because I can make that throw, but up here, these dudes are fast, man, and that shit will get picked off. So they have to learn the speed of the game, and they have to reevaluate. Well, they kind of have to relearn what their limits are, because what they can get away with in high school as quarterback, you can't get away with up at this level. So, we got to see what he does. And I think he seems to have the maturity level to come in and put the work in and everything else. But, again, until you get a Sammy Okunlola in the face, man, you don't know.
I'm telling you. Right now, Colorado 37 ranked class. I mean,
number one in the Big 12 though, in terms of average rating, and top 25 in terms of when you're doing quality over quantity. There's Colorado. 24/7 Sports needs to figure out how to make it more tailored towards not just, if you're going to take all these guys with a heartbeat and sign 40 guys, like, you shouldn't have an edge over somebody that is focusing on guys that can play right away.
That's you taking heartbeat guys.
Yeah. Maybe better than taking a heartbeat guys, but it is. There needs to be a formula that better highlights this, right?
Yeah, I don't have a filter, so you got to be careful bringing me on.
Oh man, it's all good. It's all good. I haven't said though, you guys hit the like button wherever you're listening in from. Let us know. Put your city and your state in the chat right now. Hell, put your country in the chat if you are out there on the far west coast or the east coast, or Pineapple to the Big Apple, wherever you're checking in from. Let us know right now. Put your city and your state in the chat. Give a shout out to William and Adam one time. And I just wanted to say, hey, it's a pleasure coming on here with you guys on this National Signing Day, early signing day. And I look forward to doing it again.
Hey, and one thought real quick on that ranking thing is, like, they may have us ranked in the 30s in the high school class, but who's been at number one the last 2 years when you put it all together at the end?
Now, that's a great point. When that portal comes about, when the portal opens up on Monday, to be exact, I expect some huge signings and fireworks to pop off. And that's when that ranking will shoot up. But at the end of the day, the ranking doesn't even matter. It's about actual production and how many guys are going to stay on through the spring. Because we saw a couple of guys I think of off the top of my head that left in the spring. So we can't get too high, too low on it. We'll see who makes it through at the end of the day.
Coach Prime going to get his dudes.
Damn right.
Well, Chico, thanks for hosting this. This was a lot of fun. It is crazy that National Signing Day used to be kind of this finality to it in February, and now it's like they're just getting started. Monday, the transfer portal opens, and then it's going to be crazy. So this really is just the first session in terms of adding talent to this roster for 2025, and it's such an exciting time to be a Buffs fan out there, and that we don't have to massage our words as much when we're talking about these signees as maybe we have some years.
We used to have to be like, let me try to be real nice about this kid.
Yeah. Like heartbeat, dog.
I don't want to get somebody's mom, and I've had that happen. But somebody's mom or dad get nasty about stuff. It's like, sorry,
Like, I'm just watching the film, but hey,
right,
all right.
But the only thing I got to say is I noticed that Adam got the team T-shirt on, man. I feel like I must be the uncle that you got to keep upstairs in the locker room.
Adam surprised me with that. I appreciate it, Adam. Adam wearing the Big Dog Chico shirt, and I saw you had a Big Dog Chico sticker on your computer. One of the media scrums I saw. I said, man, Adam got all love for me forever, man. With that right there, I appreciate you. Will, you got to get you one sent out there to you, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I will wear it.
I appreciate it. Well, hey, till next time. This has been an historic day for Colorado. You guys hit the like, subscribe, comment, and let us know what you guys thinking. For William, for Adam, I'm Big Dog Chico, and I'll be up and about this thing. Peace in the Middle East. Yeah.